Welcome to this podcast. You're here with Jenny, and today we're talking about the Mars retrograde in Gemini. It's a powerful time at this moment. Mars is commencing its retrograde cycle amongst a deeply transformative period. Number one, we're in the heart of the Taurus-Scorpio eclipse season. Number two, Saturn has just gone direct. Number three, we're also in the heart of the Saturn-Uranus square. So this combination of signatures is kicking off this Mars retrograde in a really powerful way. I'll be talking about what that might mean in your personal life and how to work with the energies, including how to navigate the confusing and mystical and inspirational and perplexing and illusionary and delusionary signature with Neptune, and how to harness that energy in a really empowering way in your own life. Overall, I would say that communication is up in the mix. This Mars retrograde is going to feel a little bit like a Mercury retrograde because of all the connection with communication. This Mars retrograde is giving us all the opportunity to master our communication skills, to adapt, reconsider, review how we communicate, our belief systems, and our interactions with other people is really the core opportunity the cosmos is giving us during this long Mars retrograde period. So let's get going. Mars in Gemini. Gemini is an air sign. It's a adaptable, changeable sign, and it's ruled by Mercury. So it's curious, playful, loves exploring new data, intel, information. In the process can get scattered, exploring all these new ideas and diving deep down the rabbit hole to explore more. But then it will stop just as quickly and move on to another focus. During this Mars in Gemini retrograde period, which let's just be clear on the dates here, and also the degree points. The retrograde period goes from the 30th of October 2022 through until January the 12th, 2023. It's traversing from 8 degrees of Gemini to 25 degrees of Gemini. So if you have planets or points in Gemini, you might be feeling this more personally. Also, people who have planets and points in Virgo, Sagittarius and Pisces between 8 degrees and 25 degrees will be feeling this as well. The Mars retrograde doesn't fully complete itself until the 15th of March 2023. So that's a long period of time. It sort of began time in September and is going all the way through to March. It's a big chunk of time. This is how Mars operates. So when it goes into retrograde, that's the sort of time frame that it enables. So some of the things to look out for during the Mars retrograde is that frustration can come through in communications. Hidden and suppressed anger might erupt, and harsh words can be thrown about. So be mindful of yourself and also of other people that you're interacting with. Try and be really conscious of using kind words, because there might be a spontaneous urge to have harsh words, and particularly when the conversation with Neptune is occurring. You may experience this generally as a feeling of lack of clarity, not being quite sure about where you're headed. And from one day to the next, you might go from feeling deeply clear and certain, yes, this is where I'm going. And then a couple of days later, you're kind of baffled and confused and go, I'm not at all sure. I was so clear a few days ago, but I'm not clear now at all. This is very confusing. And this too shall pass. The big times when this is taking place is throughout October and November and into December. So it's a significant time period where the Mars-Neptune square signature is taking place. So again, be mindful of that. Don't freak out too much if you suddenly find that you're not at all as focused or clear about where you're headed than you were the day before. There's cosmic forces at play that are allowing for new unfolding to come in and open a space for higher dimensional spiritual wisdom to come through as well, which may change the clarity that you have right now. Could indeed be undergoing a review and be adapted and changed and moved about. So, if I was to say to you today, what are you doing and where are you going, and let's be clear about this, and you wrote it all down today, if I had that same conversation with you again in January or even March, you could well have a different answer for me. So just be open to that. Evolution. growth, personal change, shifts. You've got the big eclipse seasons, which are just on our doorstep now, and they also speak to changes and shifts and new life decisions and turning points. New relationships entering, old relationships departing. There's a lot of change and uncertainty. Another way the Mars-Neptune signature can show up in our lives is where people can get lost in kind of feeling overwhelmed by the mystical, fuzzy, not quite tangible influence of Neptune. Think of it in terms of when your eyes can't quite get into focus. You know, they're a bit fuzzy and not quite focused. That kind of vibe can be around, and sometimes people's reaction to that is to check out, disconnect, and just kind of escape it. So there's all sorts of ways we can do that. We can do that with screen time, spending hours and hours scrolling. And because Mars is in Gemini, there can also be a tendency to, search the internet kind of obsessively and go down different rabbit holes and explore and be curious in different directions, dabbling here, sampling this, sampling that. But getting lost on the internet is one way it can show up. And obviously things like drug, alcohol, watching porn, reading books obsessively. There's all sorts of ways that we can check out and numb ourselves in life. So a brilliant way that you can really harness this Neptune signature in the sky. And particularly when I'm speaking about this Mars retrograde, I'm actually focusing on the first month or so because it's a long time period. The signatures in the sky change here, there and everywhere. So comments here are speaking more to the first 5 weeks. So a fabulous way to harness the energy of the Neptune signature is if you find yourself daydreaming, spontaneously vaguing out, or sort of wafting away into consciousness and realizing you've kind of lost touch with the planet. You're no longer here sitting in your body. You've merged with the universe and expanded consciousness and higher spiritual dimensions. And when that happens, you do have the option of stepping into the witness where you're aware that you've drifted away into the dreamscape. And from that witness place, you can be more aware of where your consciousness is going and what you're exploring and what ideas are flowing through your mind. So that when you come back into your body and land back in the 3D again, you could take the opportunity to journal about them or to do spoken audio, to actually record your experiences that just took place during this spontaneous daydreaming moment. So that is a beautiful way to work with the energy. And of course, it's magnificent energy for receiving creative inspiration in all the different art forms. And a fabulous time to keep a dream journal so that you can recall your nighttime dreams. And if you're into meditating, you might find that you go into deeper spaces and places with the assistance of this Neptune signature, tapping into this very cerebral Mars retrograde in Gemini. Another thing to keep in mind is having a single point of focus can help you stay more on track, to kind of hone that Gemini energy in instead of frittering, dancing around like a butterfly or a bee from flower to flower. If you create 1 or 2 things that you intend to focus on over the next couple of months, that will help to keep you more on target and focused when you do have the energy to follow up on things. If you've got a really clear focus, that will help you navigate this energy as well. Thank you so much for joining me for this podcast. I am also uploading a number 2 Mars retrograde, which is focusing on the galactic points, and you'll find that also on my YouTube channel. If you subscribe and hit the notification bell, then you'll be notified when that podcast goes up. I would love to hear what you're thinking about this Mars retrograde. How is it impacting you so far? These energies have been up in the mix since early September, the very start of September, and particularly throughout October. Some people who are more sensitive to energy have been feeling that slow down, sluggishness aspect. Until next time, bye for now.